go ahead and turn to Luke chapter 8. So we're going to continue tonight with the methods of personal evangelism. Tonight we're going to look at different ways to sow. All right. Luke 8. We're going to use this as a jumping off point, and then we're going, actually hopefully y'all got a lot to say tonight since there's a lot of pros and cons or advantages that these questions had. All right. Luke 8, I'm going to read 5 through 8 and then 11 through 15. A sower went out to sow his seed. As he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and it was trampled down, and the birds of the air devoured it. Some fell on rock, and as soon as it sprang up, it withered away because it lacked moisture. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up with it and choked it. But others fell on good ground, sprang up, and yielded a crop 100-fold. When he had said these things, he cried, He who has ears, let him hear. Now the parable is this: the seed is the word of God. Those by the wayside are the ones who hear. Then the devil comes and takes away the word out of their hearts, lest they should believe and be saved. But the ones on the rock are those who, when they hear, receive the word with joy, and these have no root, who believe for a while, and in a time of temptation fall away. Now the ones that fell among thorns are those who, when they have heard, go out and are choked out with cares, riches, and pleasures of life, and bring no fruit to maturity. But the ones that fell on the good ground are those who, having heard the word with a noble and good heart, keep it and bear fruit with patience. Okay, so let's just go through and make sure we're all on the same page here. So we had 4 souls. You had some that was eaten you had some of the seed that was eaten by birds off the ground. You had some that fell on the rock and withered away. Some fell among the thorns and was choked out. And then some fell on good ground and produced 100 times what it was sown. Okay, so what do these varied results indicate to us as seed sowers as we go into this work of evangelism? Start with the birds. What was eaten by the birds?
Satan came and just snatched them away from
Just-
the get-go. So he never even had a chance to penetrate further than they just heard.
Right. So they just hear it, don't believe, or they just never gave any more thought to it. For whatever reason, that's it. Okay, so some fell on the rock and withered away. What does that indicate? It grew a little bit, right? But what happened?
No moisture.
Right, no moisture, withered away. This would represent the people who may believe for a little while, but they never get rooted in God's word and just fall away. All right, some fell among the thorns and it was choked out. So these are the Christians that, in my opinion, they never matured. Okay, the scripture even says they cared more about what the worries and the cares and pleasures of life. So they never gave up those things. Let's see, what did it say there? I was on one of those. The cares, riches, and pleasures of life, they were choked out. So they never gave up those things in order to become what they needed to be as God's children. And then some fell on the good ground. Okay? So we're not going to turn over to 2 Corinthians, but what results would have been achieved if the sower had not sown any seed at all? Because I guarantee you somebody here would have given the argument, well, you only got a 25% return here, so it's not even worth doing, right? So what would the results have been if we hadn't have sown any seed? 0, okay? So I hear my kids at school talking about getting part-time jobs all the time, and well, they're only going to pay me minimum wage. I said, well, something's better than nothing, okay? And I mean, I think same thing applies here. Our whole goal as Christians is to save ourselves, save our families, and take as many people to heaven as we can, right? We want everybody to go with us. So even if it's just 25% or less, that's something, and that's what we need to be doing.
Sometimes in the midst of what appears to be an unfertile area, there could be patches that are fertile.
Absolutely.
When you scatter something in the land.
That's absolutely. So, and the thing is, we talk about maybe only 25% according to this verse. With that scattering, we may not know what happens to some of that. It may take root and grow. So we may not know what happens, but we have to sow the seed if we're going to produce some results. So moving on to question 3 here. Think about the various ways someone can sow seed. So here, Josh used the example of hand planting, hand broadcasting, a push spreader, a horse-drawn spreader, and a tractor pull spreader. Okay, so I took all this literally since he wanted to use it, and I tried to make some present-day application to it. So what did you come up with here? It says the seed is the same, but on what basis would we use these different approaches? So what about hand planting? I mean, what would that correlate to in our teaching and spreading God's word? One-on-one, okay. You think that's effective?
Only the most effective.
Only the most effective? Okay. What about the push spreader? You know what I'm talking about, push spreader? Like I don't know if y'all have to fertilize your yards or not, and for weeds, you get the little thing, you push it around, it spreads the fertilizer and the seed out. So what kind of areas do we use those in?
We have to push Josh to spread more seed.
Push Josh to spread more?
No.
So you use those.
It's, you use that in a larger area where you try to cover things evenly. A lot of times you may go back over it twice to make sure you get more evenly.
Right. So I kind of viewed that kind of like our local community here, okay? In our towns and our little communities out in the county even. Sunday school classes, maybe our groups individually. Some of us have people in your home to study with them. So this is more of those small. It's larger than one-on-one, but it's still some small sowing of the seed. Let's see. What about the hand broadcasting? You kind of hit on that already. What are you doing when you hand broadcast? Yeah, you're just throwing it out there, right? How does this correlate to our everyday life?
Maybe sharing a post.
Sharing a post?
It's something you throw out there. Maybe someone might see it, get interested, and will ask for it.
Okay, so just throwing something like a post out there?
It could be little things you say to people that you know as well. Like,
Right.
Little things here and there.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking here is it's really everything we do every day in our interactions with people. We're broadcasting it whether we know it or not. The way we live, the examples we are, the way we talk to people, the things we do, the things they observe. I think that's the broadcasting in my opinion. We're just, everywhere we go, we should be in some way, whether we say, do, whatever it is, we should be broadcasting something, hopefully.
Handing out the Healthy Guy business cards.
Do it.
On the book, the little Healthy Guy business cards.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere you go, or sticking on the bulletin board in the offices or halls at school or something, on them, kicked out.
Yeah. Yeah, so just anywhere you can leave a mark in some way, whether you know it or not, if you're living that way or leaving random cards or whatever it is, we can still have an effect. What about the tractor pulled spreader? What's the purpose of that?
Go a lot of ground in a hurry.
A lot of ground in a hurry. So what would be some ways that we do that today? Gospel meetings. Social media. And with that, I'm going to do the live stream and YouTube and Reels, and we don't have a TV program, but I guess some of that kind of, anything that's massively going out to people. Okay, so, and we do that. We post in podcasts. We have our sermons in podcast form. So anything that's getting it out to the masses, whether we know who's getting it or not, we're putting it out there for whoever wants it.
And part of the things is with every one of those means, the seed cannot get planted without our action.
Absolutely. Somebody's got to be doing work in order for this to happen.
Every means we've got to be running the tractor or something so far.
And that includes clicking things, sharing things, playing things, or handing them something. It's all the above. Other thoughts there? The horse? Yeah, that's yeah. This is what you get when you don't make your own slides, right? Or questions.
Sit at the booth, first Fridays, handing it out, people walk by.
Yeah.
It's gonna go a lot, it's by hand.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Anybody else have anything on that? I'm probably gonna move pretty quick to get through all this.
I thought of the horse drawn as like asking another member of the church, the elders, Josh, to study with someone that is wanting to study with us. You have that power assisting you.
Absolutely. Because, like you said, it all has to start with somebody taking some type of action. And sometimes we need some more help after that. That's absolutely. All right, let's move on to question 4. So it says, think about the different approaches to evangelism. What was one of the ways the early church went about doing evangelism according to Matthew 10, 12 through 14? Now here, the church has not been established yet, but let's turn over to Matthew and see what they were doing in Matthew chapter 10. And I'll read verses 12 through 14. It says, greet a household when you enter it, and if the household is worthy, let your peace be on it. But if it is unworthy, let your peace return to you. If anyone does not welcome you or listen to your word, shake the dust off your feet when you leave that house or town. Okay? So we're thinking about different approaches here. What approach did you get out of this that was being done? Going house to house. Okay. Is this still a valid approach? I think so. I think I've heard Jesse talk about going and door knocking and inviting people to church. I think it is valid. Okay.
He does it in Africa.
They do? Okay.
He said they're receptive. You can just walk up, they usually will talk to you there.
Hold that thought for just a minute. Do it? However.
Most Africans do not retreat into their house. So in the evening, they will gather under a tree or outside, and they'll be chatting and things of that time. So it's they're more easily approachable. And rarely do they say no, if you want to talk about scripture.
Okay, so going to the advantages and disadvantages here. That's one of the things I had, what both of y'all said is, so cultural differences, cultural barriers. Somewhere like you say in Africa, they're all going to be outside, not hiding in their houses, where I'm in my house and you knock on my door and I'm looking on my camera to see who you are and what you want. Okay, why are you here? Or I may just ignore you, right? So there is some barriers there to this that some people are just not going to answer the door. What are some other advantages, disadvantages to this approach?
More comfort level if someone's either in your home or in their home, they're probably more comfortable than out in a public place, possibly discussing things. They can ask questions one-on-one with you. They don't have to raise their hand in Bible class and feel like they might ask something that feels stupid question.
Yeah, so there's two sides to that one. You're putting yourself in a vulnerable position, whether you're having somebody in to study with you or they're coming into your house, like you said. And you don't know what they're going to ask, what they're going to talk about. So it's a different type of situation. Also, what I had was not knowing what they're going to ask. You could get off topic real easy because you're in a more comfortable setting. So there's a lot of things that could happen here. What else y'all got?
Like in the day of social media, when those videos of crazy people on ring cameras get circulated, people are a lot more skeptical about coming to the door.
Absolutely.
So I feel like people aren't as accepting of that as maybe they used to be.
We like our privacy here in the Western world, don't we?
And you may get associated with a Jehovah's Witness if you're coming to the door. Not that you are, but they may feel the same way about you.
Right.
Coming up, knocking on their door with a Bible in your
Absolutely. One thing I thought about too is, though, going back to some previous studies, if you start doing this on a regular basis with somebody and it's that same person, you're going to their house or they're coming in your house, you're building that relationship. So you are building a more intimate relationship with somebody, you're getting more comfortable with them. So even though it might be a little more uncomfortable on the front end, if that continues, hopefully that will become a more a deeper relationship, and you start having trust for each other to talk about more personal spiritual things. What else? One thing I got out of this was this also, you're focusing on people who are receptive. If they're inviting you into their home to come study with them, it means they're curious about something, and that's encouraging. I think it also requires us and them to have a deep reliance on God, whether they know it or not, because we're taking a chance going into their house going, what if they ask me something I don't know? What if they get mad or whatever it is? So we've got to have we need to be praying and have a reliance on God and how He's going to help us through that.
Jesus was warning his apostles, if they do not receive you, then shake the dust off your feet and move on. So there is a point where, and I think if it's a loved one, it's different, because you're not going to just give up. But someone that you just met, maybe that you're trying to teach and work with, if they're totally not receptive, you need to find someone who maybe is more receptive with your time.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
That's what he was telling them, you know.
Well, and that's where we also have to have a little bit of a thicker skin too. You know, we have to realize we may get invited in and then, nope, I'm done with you. And just move on and find the next person. Keep sowing. All right, what about this? At times, we have gospel meetings. We just had one when the whole church comes together to hear preaching and invite others. Is this still a valid approach? I think it is. Why do you think it's valid? What are some of the advantages and disadvantages to this?
I've had experience where the preacher, you invite someone that was a denominational person, and the preacher would hammer on that particular thing, and they actually called the name of the denomination or something. Now that's a loser. Them folks ain't hardly gonna come back again in most cases. Now that happens occasionally.
It can.
But there's another side to that story.
Okay.
A sister was married to a man who believed he was a Christian, but he was not. She invited him to go with her on Easter Sunday, and the preacher preached against celebrating Easter as a religious holiday. It made her husband so angry that he went home and studied his Bible, and he found out he was wrong.
Okay. So, kind of depends on the situation. I think this is a great opportunity to invite people, because to a lot of people this is going to be less threatening. Maybe they want to, they don't want to miss their own church services. I think we can understand that. This would be a perfect time. Low pressure, and maybe that's the time they hear something, just like that case right there.
You're not responsible for the reception that is received. You're responsible for simply sowing the seed and let the seed germinate if it's going to grow.
Right. And if we invite those people and they do hear something, what's our role in that when they hear something, since we're all here together? Follow up. I hear, Josh says it quite a bit. If you hear something or have questions, we have several people here when they get up to teach say that. We're here to help out with that, right? Find somebody that you know here, ask them, ask for more information. So not only are you inviting them to hear more of the word, but we've got plenty of people here. If I get to talking to somebody and I don't know, I'm going to go pull Ed, say, come on, Ed, let's go talk, Okay, what else? Y'all think of anything else about advantages, disadvantages to this?
Well, sometimes when you invite people to a gospel meeting, one of the first things that I did when I was Baptist, I said, where is the music? So it starts a series of questions. And then you start explaining, well, this is why. Why is that? Well, this is, and you keep going. So it generates interest. People want to know why you're different.
Right, so this is kind of that come and see what we're about kind of attitude. Any other thoughts on that one? Okay. Question 6 here. So the book of Acts shows us examples of home Bible teaching. Okay. Let's turn over to Acts 5. So verse 42. Every day in the temple and in various homes, they continued teaching and proclaiming the good news that Jesus is the Messiah. I'm going to turn over to chapter 10 now. I'm going to read 32 and 33. Therefore, send someone to Joppa and invite Simon here, who is also named Peter. He is lodging in Simon the tanner's house by the sea. So I immediately sent for you, and it was good of you to come. So now we are all in the presence of God to hear everything you have been commanded by the Lord. Okay, so home Bible teaching. And we've already kind of talked about that a little bit, so we won't spend too long on it, but this can be different than one-on-one. Okay, when I talk about a home Bible teaching, who would that include possibly?
Could include a neighborhood. If you put a sign in your front yard and say Bible class, if interested, call this number, or a Bible study.
Okay, so that could be a whole neighborhood deal. Okay,
Family members in the house.
could be all the family members in the house.
Or even friendly is invited. Just back if someone's had a scheduled box in their house and they're like, hey, I have someone going to talk about this subject, maybe they know someone else is interested in it, then invite them over in order to have that study with them.
Right, so this is just basically pretty much whoever you want to have into your home and invite into your home to have a Bible study with. Why would this be effective?
What's a little more friendly atmosphere in your home? It's not, they're not going to congregation, maybe they're being games at home or something. It's just a little more friendly atmosphere.
Yeah, go ahead. I got another comment about that. Go ahead.
Sometimes you can tell the person that's directing the whole study, this person is from this background, and it can be curtailed to what they need to hear. So, I mean, you can't, like Josh said, you can't always get that from the pulpit because that lesson's already prepared. So you bring somebody, they may hear something that, isn't curtailed to them.
Right.
But you can tell that if Ed's teaching the class in our home and we're bringing a Baptist or a Methodist or a Buddhist or whoever, and you say, hey, this is what they are, so direct it for what they need to hear.
Right, and avoid the comment that's going to keep them from coming back like TJ was talking about.
Think about that with the college and high school classes, where they're in a peer group and maybe more comfortable than might be in some other setting.
Right. Going back to your comment for just a second about the being together here can be kind of intimidating. What is the view of a lot of this younger generation about being in this building? If y'all don't know, you need to.
Not as important.
No, not as important. I can worship God at home. I don't like corporate worship. I don't like this collectiveness. They've got a different view than previous generations, okay? So there's a segment of the younger generations looking at say, no, I don't want all that show, and then there's some that do. So that's the thing. Some of them, it may be a while before they ever get in the building. It may take a lot of home studies for them to eventually see, hey, I need to be there with some other Christians, and some other people, like-minded people.
Some of the denominations do things like, would our visitors stand up and identify yourself? They do different things like that, which if they're thinking about, oh, I have to go into a situation, they may make me stand up or raise my hand or tell who I am. And they wouldn't want to be in that setting because they might be embarrassed to be singled out like that. Whereas at home, you know people probably, or you know somebody that knows them, and you're more comfortable at first.
Absolutely.
Although some are more comfortable in a large group of people, they can get lost.
Sure. What else? I've got the same comment again. When you're having a home Bible study, depending on the group of people, you could get derailed. If you've got a group of not like-minded people, you could run down a rabbit hole and have a hard time staying on track. So you got to be prepared for that. Okay, I don't know if I'm gonna say it's a reason not to have it, but it's it could be something that makes it ineffective. So you need to consider things like that and how am I going to get this thing back on track if it goes that way. And I referred to it already, but we need to make sure they understand this is not a substitute for the assembly. Okay, and it may take a while to get there, because like I said, you've got a lot of these home churches now that's kind of coming back around, and just people that I just don't need to be there. I can just watch it at home. Any other thoughts there? Okay. All right. Where was Paul doing most of his evangelistic work in Acts 17? Outside. Okay. Any particular places y'all remember reading about?
The synagogue and the marketplace.
The synagogue and the marketplace. Street corner. Okay. So he was at a place where the Jews would be gathering to talk about God. The marketplace, who's going to be there? Everybody. Anybody. Okay. Where the idols were. That's where we're at every day, right? Out amongst all the other things to worship. And then the Areopagus. I didn't say that right, did I? Yeah, thank you. Morris Hill. What was that?
Well, some think it was a council group, not a particular location itself.
Okay. So what did they do when they got together?
Kind of a debate society.
Okay, so it's kind of probably a little more your intellectual, we want to discuss, debate, argue type. Okay, so the three places we've just mentioned is a place of worship, a general setting for just about anybody, and then an institution, I say institution, a place where people are going to get together and talk about intellectual things. Okay, so what are some modern equivalents of these places?
I have seen a man downtown Florence stand on the corner in front of the post office and preach.
Absolutely, I've seen that.
You can roll your window down and listen to him while you're at the red light.
And there's a guy that does that over close to Lowe's. He'll get out with a megaphone and do that. I think we've passed out stuff at First Fridays before, haven't we?
There's usually a guy there on First Fridays.
Yeah. So that's one thing. You've got places in town. You've got these events where communities get together. You could go. What are some other places where people might be gathering? Park. We've been there a few times. Coffee shops. I mean, that's the thing, especially in college towns. I mean, how many coffee shops do we have now? We're getting another one. So I'm being serious. So, I mean, that's a place where you can find a lot of young people or college kids. what are some advantages, disadvantages to doing this? And you know, we're bringing up these advantages, disadvantages because if you're going to go to these places, you need to kind of know what you're walking into and what to expect. So, what are some advantages to these places?
A lot of different people hear you.
Yeah, you don't know who's going to hear it, right? Especially if you're standing on a street corner, don't know. If we're standing out First Fridays handing out literature, have no idea who's going to pick it up and take it. I was reading a little bit, somebody worded it this way, talking about where the idols were, engaging culture where it is. So Paul went, the culture's all around, you've got these other idols, and he used one of their own to use as a jumping off point for preaching. And there's plenty of things for us to use and places to go where I think we could do that. What are some challenges or disadvantages to this?
Maybe somebody just wants to argue.
Yeah, just find one of them we're ready to argue people.
Or just be heckled.
Do it?
Or just be heckled.
Or just be heckled, yeah. People are going to...
Hostile hearers.
Absolutely, I mean...
They get confrontational.
You look at... I'll think back some of the Charlie Kirk reels. I mean, there were people that were nice and people that were really, really rude. And so we need to be prepared. We have to have a thick skin, know that somebody might come after us pretty hard. Or you might find somebody receptive and say, hey, let's go sit down and drink some coffee and talk.
I noticed when we used to have a study in Wendy's down in Russellville, I have noticed people at other booths or around listening to what we said, even though they weren't part of the group. You can tell when somebody's listening.
Oh yeah, if you start looking around, you can tell some are real interested in what you're talking about.
You know, whether, you're teaching even the outskirts of an area.
All right, I hate to skip, but Josh wanted me to make sure that I got to some of the electronic use of stuff, and then there's some stuff that I wanted to get to, so if we have time, we'll go back, but I'm actually going to skip to 11. So, ways to use electronic media to share the gospel. All right, what are some ways y'all use it? You know what I'm talking about? We'll get there in a minute.
Share, like, even your own post.
All right, so sharing, liking posts. So this is, if you're on social media, this is sharing sermons, this is sharing just info slides that pop up, this is sharing podcasts, this is sharing reels, all of those things. Okay, so why should we do that? Okay, I've had to force myself into this role, okay? I'm not a big social media person, but why are we doing this? Why are we putting all these reels out there? Why are we making all the sermons in the podcast? Why? Is it doing any good?
Yes, it is, because I still have contact with all of my people I went overseas in the military. And I'm constantly in contact with them, and I'm always dropping things to them. And we have some pretty good discussions sometimes, but I know them. I know who is and who isn't a Christian.
The culture, that's kind of where they go for information now anyway, so.
That's it. So that's part of it too. And that's the thing. You can drop something to somebody. It's real easy. It's non-confrontational. And if they want to respond to you, they can. And that's where everybody is. One of the examples I found I liked was we've really been talking about the ground war here tonight. I'm in your home. We're teaching. We're spreading. We're talking. Okay. What's the deal? Why is air superiority called air superiority? What does that do for you in battle?
You control everything.
You control everything. Are we even in the game here when it comes to the air war? And I'm talking about social media. Okay. Here's the thing. If we're not sharing stuff, guess who it is? The devil. There's a guy I listen to, and one thing he says, if you don't lead your family, the devil will. If the elders won't lead the church, the devil will. Anything that you're not willing to do, the devil's willing to do it. It's the same thing here with social media. These kids, I can watch them all day long look at reels. if I can just get one thing in front of somebody's face the whole day that is good, it was worth it. Just to give you an example, one of the last reels I posted for Josh had 2,000 views. Doesn't sound like that much, does it? And some people probably would argue, okay, hang on a second, but that's probably just your Churches of Christ. Really? Add up the ones in the area. Do you get 2,000 members from the ones just in the 2 or 3 mile radius here? It tells me what countries it's coming from. It's getting in front of people's faces. Okay? And that's the point. We just want to get stuff in front of people's faces that make them go, hey, maybe I want to know more about that. It's not about getting follows, but like on YouTube, we've gained 10 more followers after the last month, during the last month. What does that mean? It means off of these reels and shorts and stuff, they've seen something or heard something that has intrigued them, which means when they follow it, it's going to pop up on their feed more often. If it's on YouTube, it's going to give them more of the same type of content. Now, we can't control that. But electronic media, that's where we're at. It's the world we live in, something we just got to accept, and we need to use it to our advantage and put as much stuff out there as we can. It didn't take long to just like and share something. And by the way, the more shares you do on that reel, gets it in front of more people. Every time you like it, it brings it back up at the top of people's feeds. So they're going to see it more and more. Okay, there's an algorithm to it. I don't think y'all want to hear how it all works. Okay, maybe Tim does, but it's something we really need to consider. I want to get to something else real quick too. I need about 10 more minutes.
I respectfully disagree with something and put the scripture in there on something somebody else has posted.
Do what now?
Take a post that somebody else has put out there that's got some false doctrine in it and put scripture just as a comment on it.
Right. We got to be careful what we post. And I was actually going to do a whole slide on this, but some of y'all are going to disagree with me on this. I'm going to say it anyways. There are some Church of Christ groups out there that like to post things like why we're right, why the Church of Christ is right, things like that. Before you post that, ask yourself a question. Why are you posting that? Is that sowing the seed, or are you just trying to prove a point to somebody? I'm not saying there's stuff that's posted like that all the time. I read it and I'm like, hey, that's good. But are you just trying to poke the bear, or are you trying to actually get people to be receptive? So.
Too, if you like or post, I mean, we read some horrific things on there, and if we like or post or response, it boosts that one up too.
It does.
So we have to be careful that if we take the time to respond at all, it's a very thoughtful, and hope that the right people see our response, because these that are getting 1,000 comments, they're never, who's going to see what we put anyway?
Absolutely.
To your point, I've heard before that you learn how a bill is counterfeit by looking at the real thing. Look at what's real. So you can throw something out there, this is why you're wrong, or you can throw something out there, look at this is what it says. This is the real thing. So there's two. One, the person gets punched in the throat, they get mad, and the other one makes them think about it. Sometimes they get mad and think about it, but a lot of times they get mad and walk off.
And that's been one of my goals of making reels for Josh, is sometimes I give him a lot of flack online because I'll post something that's like with the Pope. He got some kickback on that. But I'll try to post things that's going to make people go, hey, I want to hear more. Or I want to go study that, like you were talking about with the Easter thing. It's like, hey, that kind of made me mad. So, okay. All right, I'm going to get through this slide. So I made this one so much. This is not in yours. Why do people watch so much media? This is something you need to realize too about why we're sharing so much media. Hang on. So we're in a post-literate society now, whether y'all know it or not. More people are watching things than reading things, just like it used to be in society. So some things to think about when you're studying with people, and why people are watching things online, and what version of the Bible you're using while you're studying with them. Okay. According to the National Institute of, I'm not going to read all that, 54% of adults are on the 6th grade reading level. Which means I probably do what better than I read? Watch and listen. Okay. 21% of adults are classified as functionally illiterate. That's a quarter of the population. Okay. Most are on the 7th or 8th grade level. I can prove that because every year they say when you send an email to a parent, put it on a 7th or 8th grade reading level. Okay? So, level 1 or below here struggles to read short text. That's about 28%. 29% can paraphrase or make low-level inferences. 44% can identify rhetorical structures. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible when you start talking about types, shadows, metaphors, all types of stuff. So I bring this up because this is one of the reasons people are watching so much content. I can just listen to somebody explain it to me instead of reading it. That's why they need us also in their homes doing this stuff, helping them understand it and read it. And the last thing I'll say, and I'll let Josh take up the flack on this one, keep this in mind when you have people in your home in the version that you're using to study with. If I sent your 2nd grade home with a 12th grade level book, you'd probably be like, what is this teacher doing? Let's make sure we've got them reading something they don't need a dictionary to understand. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave it on that, and you can argue with Josh about it. Thank y'all.